Hello, fellow Econauts, and welcome back to our show. I'm here with my brother Ben, the Rocket Man, and we are talking about the Artemis program. Hey, Ben, how are you?
I'm fine, Simon. Hey, fellow Econauts, how's it going?
In our previous episodes, we talked about the Artemis 1 mission and also Artemis 2. This is a part of a mini series, and today we are taking a look at Artemis 3. Ben, maybe you can tell us a little bit about it.
So obviously Artemis 3 is still in preparation and planning. There are a few things which have to happen before Artemis 3 can continue. Obviously Artemis 2 has to be a success, and also
Obviously.
well, obviously, and also the lunar lander, the human landing system, that's the official term,
Oh my
has to
God, what
be,
a name.
yeah, HLS, human landing system, HLS, has to be tested, and NASA has selected SpaceX to provide the HLS, which will be delivered with, or which actually is Starship from SpaceX. They have to do obviously a lot of tests and also demonstration landing before Artemis 3 will happen. Maybe I should have also mentioned the goal of Artemis 3. Artemis 3 will have, for the first time in 50 years, a human being on the lunar surface. So we will have another moon landing. We will have other people on the moon, boots on the moon.
So before we can actually build a base on the moon, we obviously have to do a lot of testing and also establish a base on the moon.
That's way later. Before that, gateway has to be established, and then a lunar base. Exactly. So
All right, we have now on screen the Artemis 3 mission map. And Ben, you can of course tell us a little bit about it. I think 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the same as before.
pretty much, yeah. So as you just mentioned, 1, 2, 3, 4 is the same as before. SLS is equipped with the Orion, performing a launch, and then at some point separation stages will happen. Orion then, still with the ICPS, will sort of go into position, get a final boost at 5 to inject the Orion at 6 into the lunar orbit. At this stage, the crew still has to do a lot of tests, and also because now we have the Starship Luna already in position, that has happened beforehand. They have to sort of find the right time and the right angle to go into a rendezvous orbit, and so there's a bit of a timing necessary. So when they arrive at the moon at 7, that is when they go into a orbit around the moon. So the lunar landing preparation 9 is now where the Orion is orbiting the moon. While they are in the orbit at 9, they are performing the rendezvous. Actually, they do this at 8. Sorry. And then maybe now we can show the descent and the ascent moons as well in the picture.
Take a look, we have now 3 moons on screen. Obviously, we do not have 3 moons in the sky, but just for the purpose of this mission map, we have now 3 moons on the screen.
We don't have 3 moons. It's
We,
Artemis 3, but we only
yeah,
have 1 moon.
just.
So, I mean, maybe just one step before, when Orion had the rendezvous with the human landing system, now I got it right, 2 astronauts will actually go onto the lunar the human landing system. I don't know, the HLS. So 2 astronauts will go onto the HLS, and then they will perform the descent. They will land in the polar region of the moon. The reason for that is that NASA and the world, they are considering this area to provide water, which is important considering that we want to build a base later on and use the water or the water ice with electrolyzers to make hydrogen and oxygen, and then have a propellant available. They will also have a couple of moonwalks on the surface. They will take pictures. They will do a lot of tests that will actually last for a couple of days. So they will stay on the moon for a couple of days until they will then perform the ascent. So they go back into the HLS. They will then lift off from the moon, go into an orbit, and then perform at the right moment an injection into the same orbit as Orion. And they will then again do a rendezvous with the Orion. The two astronauts on the HLS will then transfer back to the Orion, and then Orion will perform a boost. We are now at 17 back to Earth.
Well, if they're on the moon, they will probably take samples and also pictures.
Yes, they will take samples, they will take pictures. So Orion is now on its path back to Earth. Again, we are now at 18. When Orion is getting closer to the Earth at 19, the crew module will separate from the service module. And then as before, the crew module, the little thing where the 4 astronauts are sitting in, will now descend into Earth orbit. The heat shield will help that the deceleration in the atmosphere will not completely burn Orion or the crew module, and then it will splash down in the ocean. A ship will collect and retrieve our astronauts and the samples and everything, and bring them back into the base. And that was then Artemis 3.
How many seats does the human landing system provide?
I believe it provides more than 2 seats, but it's for this mission. It's also important to have remaining crew on the Orion for the rendezvous later. That was similar as for the first moon landing, where also 2 astronauts landed and one was remaining in orbit in the spacecraft. So I think that's you can't really call it a standard procedure, because landing on the moon is not standard procedure.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet standard procedure. But I think I just want to emphasize, first of all, the importance of landing on the moon again. It's not just that we haven't landed for 50 years. There's a lot of experience lost from previous generations, which we have to regain. That's important. That's why we have Artemis 1 and 2 also regaining a lot of those knowledge. Also, we are testing so many new and modern systems. Artemis 2 already tested some laser communications, for example, and all these are critical and crucial for the success of Artemis 3, and also going forward for Artemis 4, 5, and so on, and establishing gateway and a permanent base on the moon. Having that collaboration with SpaceX is also a significant difference to the Apollo missions. Apollo was completely done by NASA. Now we have a private entity joining into the whole mission as well. Starship itself is a huge endeavor of humanity. Obviously, the goal landing on Mars. So for Starship, it's also important to be tested, to test the landing system and so on. There's so many things. Then also all scientific missions on the lunar surface itself. Also, we have never landed in the polar regions to begin with. There's so many things going on here. I think for now, the moon will be really pretty much a scientific endeavor. And also, I think I've mentioned that in the past episodes as well. Landing on the moon is actually extremely hard, because no atmosphere, no magnetosphere, low gravity. A lot of things can go wrong landing on the moon. Whereas landing on Mars, the big difference, or the big challenge is the distance, because obviously to Mars it will take much longer. But getting there and then landing on Mars, I don't want to say it's easier, because what is easy? We're talking about it's not that. I mean, the moon has gravity as well. It's just so much smaller than our planet. But the bigger issue is really the atmosphere, because the atmosphere can be used for deceleration by having the friction when you enter the atmosphere, and then heat shields burn it up and so on.
All right, thank you very much for listening to us. I hope you enjoyed this show. If you did like this episode about the Artemis program, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already.
And hit the notification bell. Hit that notification bell.
All right. Okay.
And I messed it up.
Yes, you messed it up. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Next time.
Next time. All right. Have a good one. And I see you next time.